So do we think Jerry Jones is guilty of Robert Kraft's happy endings?
It's only one thing Jerry's jealous of.
His Super Bowl trophies.
Yeah.
And maybe his quarterback.
Welcome to PressBox DFW Live. I'm Richie Witt, alongside yes, I'm not really good at math, venerable Metroplex sports writers. He is Gil Leberton. He is John Henry. We are PressBox DFW Live, sponsored by, Gil?
This Space for Rent. We're, if you'd like to be a part of PressBox DFW Live, if you'd like to join us in the PressBox, please send me an email. GLeberton at PressBoxDFW.com, and we'll be glad to send our advertising representative, Mark Maurer, out to talk to you. And who knows, we might show up too. So GLeberton at PressBoxDFW.com.
So you're managing editor, columnist, and business manager.
And co-founder.
And marketing consultant. And beadwear. Now, it's Mardi Gras.
Happy Mardi. If you're watching this live, happy Mardi Gras to everybody. If you're watching this during Lent, well.
We should have given it up. So, John, do you want to play paper, rock, scissors for who flashes to get those beads? Or should we?
Oh, no. That's a very much a tourist thing.
Let me look up.
I grew up.
Oh, you're local. Okay.
No,
okay.
What I associate.
Look at me. I'm a local.
What I associate with beads is scrambling on the ground.
True that.
For beads that other people have dropped, and your mother yelling at you, "Don't do that! They have razor blades."
Do they?
No, they don't.
I had a totally different
That was
idea.
an old wives'
like in the apples at Halloween.
That was an old wives'
Right.
tale. That they would, if you reached on the ground trying to pick up doubloons or razor blades, that somebody would cut your fingers off.
They're probably extremely sanitary, but they're not razor blades. Right. All right, episode 1. So we made it. Do you ever think you guys would have a podcast? I mean, you've been writing for 1,000 years. Do you ever even think one day I'll have my own podcast?
I didn't even know what a podcast was not that long ago.
True.
Since I was 3 years old, I thought I'd be on
You
a podcast.
invented podcasts, and now you have
I'm the
one.
Al Gore of podcasts.
You
Yes.
certainly are. All right, let's get to it. Who the heck are we, and what are we doing here? It's PressBox DFW Live. We write at PressBoxDFW.com. We kind of yak about what we write about here at PressBox DFW Live each Tuesday, noonish, or when we're going to get started. So I'll give you my elevator pitch of who the heck I am. Born and raised in Dallas. Dad was a gigantic sports fan. I was lucky enough to go to the Cotton Bowl and watch Don Meredith throw bombs to Bob Hayes. I was at the very first Rangers game in '72. I'll never forget Frank Howard hit a home run to center field, and I was like, I want to be Frank Howard. And I was like, no, scale it back a bit. You're not going to be Frank Howard. I was at the first Mavs game in 1980 at Reunion Arena when they played George the Iceman Gervin, who was my guy. So I've been around a bit. Played baseball as a kid, then went to Duncanville High School, where I was a ridiculously scrawny hoops player. We were a decent team, but I was like 5'6". I look kind of like that guy.
It's
Does that look like an
not
intimidating point
not
guard?
Duncanville, right? It's Duncanville. Not
Oh,
Duncanville.
nice. Oh,
I call
nice
it Duncanville.
unis. Nice unis.
Those are like built after Marquette back
You
in the
couldn't
70s.
get.
Those are
You
old
couldn't get the
school
right
shorts.
size.
No, look at me. I weigh 92 pounds. Okay, that guy, imagine this. That guy right there, one day walked on the court, shook hands, and the guy walked up. I go, I'm Richie. And the guy goes, I'm Anthony Webb. Nice to meet you.
Oh,
And
yeah,
Patty
I've
Duke-
heard of that guy.
He stole the ball from me before I could even, the ball hit the floor and dunked on me. Yeah.
And Patty Duke called once a hairdo back.
Okay. Maybe I should get rewrite on this bio. Was always my mom told me, you know what, you're full of it. You always be a good writer because you have a great imagination. So I started writing in high school. Panther Prince at Duncanville High School. Went to UTA. I got my first job at the Star-Telegram. My first beat was the Dallas Sidekicks, which I knew nothing about. Walked into Union Arena and thought, why is there an orange ball and why are there walls? And the guy that looks like the best player keeps taking his shirt off. Maybe he was getting ready for Mardi Gras. But that was Tattoo, of course. And that turned into a pretty good beat. I mean, they wound up winning. The Sidekicks won the Major Indoor Soccer League championship. And I flew to Tacoma to cover the series. And I'm like, what? I mean, what's happening here? I'd never really ever been on a plane, and I was in Tacoma. And the games were sold out at Union Arena.
Sure.
Yeah.
I was right there next to you. Remember, they didn't have a press box up there at the time.
Just sat in the
so we
stands.
sat on the top
yeah.
of the seats.
Exactly right.
Because if you sat in the seats, you couldn't see over the makeshift press table.
Yep.
So we sat with our butts on the top of the seats.
Yeah, our seats were this wide, like the balance beam.
Wow.
Yeah.
But
it was exciting times.
Tacoma Dome, right?
The Tacoma,
Absolutely.
it was shown live on TV.
It was.
I remember Richie was there. I stayed up and watched it on TV.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Me too.
The great Norm
I remember
Hiskis
that.
won an Emmy.
Yes, he
For
did.
that telecast.
Absolutely. So from there, I covered the old Southwest Conference. Maybe you guys remember that. That was one of the best conferences ever.
Sure was.
And then went to cover the Dallas Cowboys in 1989 and got greeted with a 1-15 team. But it was exciting because you knew Jimmy and Jerry were up to things. So some of my favorite moments. And then I went to cover the Mavericks and then did some columnist. Went to the Dallas Observer and then did a radio show at 105.3 The Fan. And there's some of the pictures of the people I've gotten to meet through the years. That was Don Carter, Mavs owner. We'll just throw some more up there that I've been very fortunate and blessed to take pictures with. That looks like the guy that's still around. That'd be Jerry. My
Neither
favorite.
one of you's aged at all. Neither one of you's aged.
He has.
One of them though has his original factory hair.
This is true. It is not him. Favorite moment is probably 2011 when Dirk made the layup to give the Mavs a big lead with the 2 minutes to go, and you knew they were going to win. Kind of give them retribution. They lost to the Heat in 06. Dwayne Wade and LeBron James were mocking Dirk about his cold, and to have it in Miami against those guys, it was a magical moment. Worst moment was a couple months later in 2011, being in the bowels of Busch Stadium with the Rangers 1 strike away. And I mean, literally, we're waiting for the final out so we can tweet and go, crazy. The carts are going by with the championship hats, and there's the trophy, and there's the champagne, and there's the plastic they put on the lockers. And next thing you know, David Freeze happens, and they're like, all right, media, back to your seats. And we're just slump-shouldered like, we may never get here again, not knowing that we would never get there again. I mean, I don't know if they'll ever get there again. Favorite interview was Roger Federer at Wimbledon. I'm a tennis dork, so that was the one where I was like stumble bumming, could barely get my words out. But the best interview was Steve Nash of the Mavs. Very political, had a context and perspective, and wasn't afraid to tell the NBA to go screw itself if he didn't agree with them. He was amazing. So that's some of my memories from my bio. That's who I am. That's how I got here. Gil, how'd you get here? I think I remember you from a former job or two, right?
Former job.
Yeah.
Yeah, we worked together at the Star-Telegram for a long time. I started when I was in college. I had run out of money at LSU in Baton Rouge and had gone back to the UTA equivalent then, which was LSU New Orleans. Now it's the University of New Orleans.
Yeah.
And that's where I met my bride, eventual bride. And I got into the college newspaper at UNO, and was able to parlay that into a part-time job with the New Orleans Times-Picayune on Friday nights, and then became a full-time part-timer like newspapers always did back then, and spent so much time and enjoyed it so much that I dropped below the necessary hours and lost my student deferment. And the next thing I knew, I was in Vietnam.
Oh, my God.
True story.
Getting a real
I got
education.
drafted. And when I came back from Vietnam, I used the GI Bill and got my degree in journalism like I wanted from LSU in Baton Rouge. And I have been working in the newspaper business pretty much ever since. I had a brief stint as a publicity director in the World Football League, the Birmingham franchise.
That's right.
The Birmingham Vulcans. On our last
the
game.
Vulcans? Like
Yeah,
Spock?
because no, not that Vulcan.
Like,
no, Vulcan
like
is
draw.
Vulcan is the
However
guard.
that goes, yeah.
Vulcan is the god of steel, and there's a big statue of Vulcan looking above the city of Birmingham.
God,
So
I
it was
did
a
not know
natural.
that.
that's not
Yeah.
what the president of the United States does.
And your
He's
history is
the god. He's the god. He's the god.
He's the
of steel.
god.
That's
He's the god
true.
of steel.
Anyway,
Can we go back to Vietnam real quick?
Yeah.
First of all, thank you for your service. Obligatory. Second of all,
Thanks, I think-
what infantry did you serve in and all that stuff? I'm sure I'm botching that, but give us a quick.
I was with an outfit called MACV, the Military Assistance Command Vietnam.
Okay.
I got in near the final years, and I worked with an advisory team, 2 advisory teams actually. It was our job to teach the Vietnamese our job so that they could take over their own country.
Okay.
We kind of did a poor job of it.
Let's say that
So
so
I was
still
like,
ongoing.
my first job, I was like the radar O'Reilly on MASH.
Yeah.
I was like radar, and I was, I drove the colonel around and things like that, and other people were getting shot at all day, and I would have to make sure that we found them at the end of the day. And then the last 7 months I was there, I actually worked for a newspaper, like in it was Full Metal Jacket.
Yes.
I actually did that. And
Wow, did you really?
Yeah, and we.
What was your beat?
Staying alive was my beat. Staying alive.
In today's news,
Every guy on our staff, we had 9 people. Every guy on our staff got shot at least once.
You get shot
except
at?
me.
You did.
No,
You
no,
never had
I
a
gave the
bullet whiz-
assignments. I gave the assignments.
Nice.
So everybody would
That's
kind
the
of lay
advantage
low.
of being the editor.
No
right
kidding.
there.
That's right, and
Yeah.
I learned my lesson there. So that's what I did, and got home 3 months early thanks to President Nixon's cutbacks.
Yep.
And I promised that if I got home early at all, that I would vote for him, and I held up my end of the bargain, and I did vote for Richard Nixon in 1972 because he got me home early.
Seemed like a solid guy.
Got you
That
out of
was
Vietnam.
different times.
High moral standing and all.
That was different times. To finish up real quickly, I started working in. I worked for newspapers in New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Wichita / Kansas City, and Baltimore. I came from Baltimore to Fort Worth in that dreaded hot summer of 1980. My first job for the 2 seasons was to cover the Cowboys. That was the first year after Roger had retired.
That's right.
I covered them for 2 years
Danny
and then
White.
started doing a column with the Star Telegram, and then continued there for 37 years until I walked out in the summer of 2017.
Hooray.
Hooray. Ziggy, can you throw up that picture of Richie and Gil? And
Yeah, how about that?
Does that
Look
ring
at
a
that.
bell?
Whoa, look
Holy
at
mackerel.
that. Look
That
at
would
that
be
hair.
On the left, Jimmy Birch, who's still with PressBox DFW.
I can guarantee that Jimmy still has the same amount of hair, but it's not that color right now.
And that's Johnny Paul,
The great
Pope.
Johnny Paul.
Yep.
Who
And
still
there-
has the same amount of attitude.
He was, the same attitude.
He hasn't
Say that.
unfolded his arms since that picture was taken.
I'll tell you that right now.
This
And
was
that's-
taken in the dormitory where where the media, the lowest paying media,
gosh.
stayed
Yep.
during that Olympics. They, in exchange for being allowed to send 4 writers to that Olympics, our editor worked out a deal where, okay, we got you in the $10 a night, the equivalent of Motel 6
was rough.
at the
Super 8,
Olympics.
the not so Super 8.
So we were in Terman Hall.
We should have been. Do you see how we're dressed? How'd you let me wear that Texas night shirt? I'm working for a living, and look at that shirt.
Is that what that is?
I don't know.
Yeah, it
looks-
does say Longhorns.
Let's
Look
go-
at mine.
I'm
I'm shilling for David Letterman.
mean,
the great
our-
David Letterman. So
our bosses must have been so proud the way we dressed to represent our
Duh.
country's media at these
You know.
Olympics. Go ahead.
That was
You're talking about.
You managed to get
So
4 people
we-
there, much less dressed
That's
than
true.
you guys.
Yeah.
So that's how I came here. I was I walked out unemployed in July of 2017, unemployed of my own volition, I guess.
Yeah.
And then here we are.
And here we are. And
PressBox DFW came along not long after that.
And John, here you are. How'd you get here?
I got here the long way. I was born and raised in Fort Worth, Texas. Went to Nolan Catholic. I too played basketball. 3-year letterman.
Did you bring a photo of your big
didn't
baggy Marquette jersey? No? Okay.
I did not.
Fine.
I had the shortest
Chicken.
shorts as well.
Oh, dear.
Then I plotted my overthrow of the of the world with as a history student at Texas Tech. Great plan, Left there after graduation. I was hungry and went to the Star-Telegram and said, "Hey, I need a job." And they said, "Sure, here's some results you can type in." So I became an agate clerk on day
I was
one.
an agate clerk. Well,
I think everybody was an agate clerk.
That's
at
where
one
you
point.
start. An agate clerk is just
Yeah.
the guy who back in the day would literally type in Jimmy Connors defeats
That's
John
right.
McEnroe 6-2, 6-4. We had to type that in.
That's right.
That's
That's right.
ridiculous. And that was late nights too.
Very late nights.
Yeah.
Very
That's,
late
that's
nights.
paying your dues though, journalism.
It is paying your dues, and so is going to the bar afterwards till, you know,
Guilty.
stay open long enough.
Absolutely.
You mean you don't just start at columnist now, like the millennials think?
They do, don't they?
Yeah, they want.
Well, I think you should anyway.
It's
That's for sure.
Yeah.
I've made my career as a writer pretty much as a what you'd call a general assignments reporter. Pretty much, I've covered everything from shoot the high school football game to the Dallas Cowboys.
What's the cool? Who's your best interview?
You know, I was
other
thinking.
than Gil.
Well, yeah, I can't overtake that. But I was thinking about that. It's got to be Bob Lilly.
Yeah.
Bob Lilly, several years
Cowboy.
ago, Mr. Cowboy. The most interesting part of that was getting through his handlers, his wife.
Yeah. Yeah.
Getting through, she's the one who sets all that up.
You remember
and
shaking his hand? How big his hands are?
it was all over the phone.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, it was all
I
over
had
the
him on the
phone.
radio show and it just engulfed it. Who's your favorite interview, Gil?
Oh, I think without a doubt, I got to spend one entire afternoon in spring of 1980. I was still working in Baltimore before I came here. Spent one entire afternoon in Deer Lake, Pennsylvania, at the log cabin training camp of Muhammad Ali. Back when
Wow.
he was very lucid. He was preparing for comeback number 3 or 4 or
Yeah.
whatever at the time. He was struggling to lose weight, and which was kind of his problem near the end of his career. And I was like this far away from him, sitting in the kitchen at the log cabin camp.
Wow.
And just me and him, and it was fascinating. I still have the cassette tape from that interview.
Do you really?
Yeah, yeah.
That's priceless.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
and you can hear we can talk about it some other time when we have more time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was
Pretty cool.
Do we have the technology to play that interview here?
I don't know. There must be some app.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
always an app.
cassette to internet app.
Right.
All right. So I've been doing this professionally in DFW 33 years. How long have you been a professional writer, sports writer? Years.
Professional.
Not good. Professional.
43.
Wow. 43. By my math, that's 76.
25-ish.
25. That's 101 years. We should be good at it by now.
We're getting there. 10,000. Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hours.
Another 100 years, we'll be good at it.
I don't know if I envision PressBox DFW live at this stage of the career development.
I'm pretty sure it was not on my wasn't on my
Okay.
career plan. All right, add it all up, and again, that's 101 years of sports writing experience in DFW. Read our writing every day at PressBoxDFW.com, and again, watch or listen to us right here at PressBox DFW Live. So the brainchild of this is our website. That's where we do our daily writing, and Gil, you're the brainchild behind that. Tell us what you envision when you hatch this thing. How did you see it working?
I pretty much saw it exactly the way it's turned out.
Okay, we're done here.
From
See
a
y'all.
visual, no. From a visual standpoint, the idea was there are so many. I don't know if people realize this because the newspapers are keeping it quiet, but newspapers are dying, and terrific, experienced sports journalists, men and women, are being laid off almost by the month, by the week. And there are so many of them in this market, in the whole DFW area, that when I left the paper in summer before last, I wasn't ready to quit writing. I didn't particularly care to do the newspaper grind anymore. That didn't bother, but I wanted to continue writing, and I figured there must be some other people out there that also wanted to continue writing.
Yep.
So the website was conceived with the idea of let's give everybody a chance to write, free from editors, free from this clickbait,
Free from compensation,
monkey
Yeah,
shine
it's
mentality
fantastic.
that
Liberation.
yeah.
Payroll, really good.
And plus, we wanted a website. We wanted a website where you weren't besieged with things popping up in front of you
Yeah.
with ads that you couldn't click out of, and or videos that would pop up that it would be John Daniels from 6 months ago,
Yeah.
and ridiculous stuff like that. Our website has a nice pure read. We're going to incorporate some ads in ours, some sponsorship things, but they'll be very unobtrusive. They'll be across the top or down the side. Nothing will jump out at you. And people have praised us in the first 11 months now of our existence that we have a nice clean read.
It is very clean.
And
You succeeded in that.
Yeah.
Very props to you.
And I wish we could use more pictures. We're going to try to do that. But right now, the focus is on the writing. And I think we've got a great group of writers. And we officially added one last night, in fact.
Yep.
The great Matt Mosley.
I don't know about great, but Matt Mosley.
The average
man-
Matt Mosley.
The mediocre,
A man who's-
mediocre Matt Mosley. Yeah.
Triple M.
the multimedia mogul that he is. He is. He's so multi-talented that he incorporated himself.
Really good at self-promotion. No, we're happy to have him. He's going to add a lot. He's going to bring a different angle.
He's going to make you laugh. He's
Yeah.
going to make you angry. He's going to make you roll your eyes. I mean, that's why we want him.
A large dash of spice
Right.
that we've added to our.
all
Besides,
behind sunglasses. All that.
Right,
behind sunglasses.
right.
Absolutely.
Besides us four, we have people like Carlos Mendez, who's covered TCU for a long time, Jimmy Birch, Wendell Barnhouse. These are all names of people that you should know from reading the newspapers here. The great Gary West, who covered horse racing for years and years. If Marjorie Lewis would ever come back from her book tour with her successful,
We'll wait for her.
her successful
It's a fun read
novel.
too. I'm
right
in the middle of it.
Yeah, and we just Jan Hubbard, Art Garcia, and I'm forgetting other people. We have a bunch of people that are contributing, writing for us
That have been in this market for a long time.
Right,
And that's more like 300 years now.
Yeah.
Right.
Now forget that math.
Yeah, we have experienced names. Nobody just came back from the road with Metallica, or nobody is got a disc
Not gonna hear
jockey
from them,
a
actually.
disc jockey job in the afternoon.
True that.
And we're experienced professional journalists whose opinions have great perspective and we hope have great weight.
We have depth and storytelling, which sets us
We
apart.
do.
Because there's a lot of sites popping up, I'm not going to name any names, you know who you are, that will tell you the Cowboys have used 12 personnel 72% of the time on third down. Not going to read that at PressBoxDFW.com.
No.
You're going to read the guy calling the shots, the coach who calls the 12 personnel, and what he's all about, where he
what's
came
it
from.
mean?
Context and perspective, that's what you get. I was in Surprise last week with a bunch of guys on a golf trip, and I was showing them our website, and one guy got it. He goes, "You mean this is for guys who like to read about sports?" And I was like, "That's it."
Exactly.
They don't want the pop-ups and the videos and the sign-up here and the fantasy leagues. It's guys who like to read sports stories told by writers who've been telling them for a long time.
Yeah, we're not going to be running game stories. The people know the score. They probably know who the leading scorer or who scored the touchdowns by the time they read us.
Correct.
So we're going to take you. We're going to take you up to the press box. We're going to take you in the locker room.
Into the press box. There you go. PressBoxDFW.com is the website. And again, you're joining the podcast, the initial voyage of the podcast, episode 1, PressBox DFW Live. All right, formal intros and BS out of the way. Let's do some show, shall we? There is a farewell tour in progress. Is it sad or is it kind of super?
Hi again. I'm Gil Leberton, and
Still.
This segment is. I'd like to remind you that if you'd like to sponsor this segment of our weekly podcast, let me know. Send me an email. We'll hook you up with our advertising rep, Mark Maurer, and because we'd like to continue doing this, we'd like to make it work. We'd like to keep paying our writers so that we can bring you all the great writing and great coverage. And so send me an email.
Pre-game meal sponsored by Gil's email.
That's right. Yeah. Why do we call it the pregame meal? The pregame meal is kind of an inside joke.
Sometimes it really isn't.
Yeah, people. Oh no, the pregame meal is a real thing. The as y'all know, the people would, contrary to what people probably think, we don't just show up after a hard day of tailgating, walk into the press box, and then leave and go back into the parking lot and drink beer right after the game.
Immediately after the game.
It becomes
The first part of that I've done.
Yeah, I've
tailgated, showed up right at kickoff, but I don't. You don't get to leave after.
I didn't.
I've been half asleep at halftime. That's happened before.
I didn't tailgate until football season of 2017. I had never tailgated, and I come from a great tradition of tailgaters at LSU, and I didn't realize people did that.
I did a feature on tailgating one time. I'm like, this is how the fun people live. Not if they're having a stupid pregame meal.
That's how the other side lives. And the other side's great.
So we get there early and we stay late, and it's not feasible for us to stay there that long a time. We will get hungry, but it's not feasible for us to go stand in a concession stand line somewhere and miss half the game. So in order to accommodate the people that are covering their game, a lot of schools and professional teams, most of them will have some sort of pregame food of some sort, and the quality varies. Some places are legendary. At the top of the food chain, literally, it was probably the Dallas Cowboys.
Absolutely.
Jerry Jones does a good job. Even has turkey on Thanksgiving.
It's legendary.
Yeah.
I mean, you get the same. We get the same food as he serves, like his sweet owners, which is
right. There's a kitchen.
Absolutely.
There's a kitchen in the Cowboys press box.
It's great.
Yeah.
And then there's, I'll always remember this. We took a train in Washington, D.C. I think it was 91, or maybe 92, the NFC Championship game with Barry Sanders and the Lions played the Redskins. Old RFK Stadium, took a train, walked in, and the worst, I think it was a hot dog, and you tell me they're legendary. You were like, don't eat that, they're legendary.
Oh, right. Yeah, that was the
infamous, I think is what
the great late Steve Perkins was the first one to warn me about that. He said, let me tell you, stay away from the Frankfurters. That was his advice. And the Frankfurters were lightly grilled. I think they were passed over a space heater. That was their way of heating them, and that's what you had. You had that, and you had a little Coca-Cola cup with about 2 ounces of
and no ice. I remember that.
No ice.
Nope.
No ice. I don't know how they.
And it was prison fare, basically.
It
was kind of it's kind of a jail of a stadium too, so it was very fitting.
Right. Yeah. It fit RFK where they had rats the size of house cats.
All right, so it's the pregame meal. You're going to host this every week. What do you got this week for us?
Well, it happened again last night. As Dirk Nowitzki travels the NBA, fans are rising to their feet to pay tribute to him, and we know it's totally deserving, and I'm kind of wondering what it all means. Dirk has become a legendary figure in DFW sports. He might be
He's the greatest.
The greatest.
He is the greatest. For production and loyalty and longevity and what he did single-handedly to win a championship.
Right.
The greatest.
Yeah, and he would surpass even the great Roger Staubach as far as stature.
We'll get into this another day, but look at Dirk's help compared to Staubach's help.
Of course. Well, anyway.
Another day.
But
he's a statue player. He's a guy who deserves a statue.
No doubt. Oh, it's a no-brainer, right? Yeah.
His career was longer than Rogers too, but
less concussions.
But
another day, even though.
But we had things like the spontaneous tribute that took place in Boston a couple of weeks ago, where the fans were cheering and pulling for him.
They're rooting for him to score.
Yeah, they're.
I mean, I don't think I've ever seen that. We saw Kareem get a rocking chair, and Jordan just kind of walked away. It wasn't really a big deal, but when players announce they're retiring, there's always a farewell tour. This wasn't announced, but it's almost better. It's organic.
Yeah, this isn't like when Jeter announces before the season it's his last year, and his guy calls the Rangers guy well, we can fit you in on the July 13th weekend. What you got for him?
Here's what Derek would
cowboy
like.
Hat. Okay.
Here's what Derek would like for his parting gift. It's none of this prefab. It's just organic and we don't have anything. We didn't plan anything. But how about a standing ovation and
Doc Rivers
root for you to score against our own team?
Doc Rivers takes the microphone at the Clippers game.
I mean, that's very cool.
And asks the people to please pay tribute to Dirk,
Which really
the
is
Boston
Dirk.
thing.
You know, Dirk
Right.
is an organic guy. You
Yep.
know, he's-
Right.
You
The
know,
scene in Boston was great.
I covered
it
his
was.
first game. I was the Mavs beat writer for the Star-Telegram in '99, and there was a lockout year, and the first game was at Seattle. And he was so skinny and shy and overmatched. I thought, Don Nelson traded for this guy. He's not going to score 1,000 points. He only scored 31,000. So I was off by 30,000 points. He's played the third most games in NBA history, behind only Robert Parrish and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Dirk. I mean, that's nonsense. When he got here, he wasn't even sure he wanted to play. He's like, I don't think I belong here. Third most games. It's crazy.
How old was he when he first got here?
20.
He was 20.
Yep.
he could never believe he
seemed
could make
younger.
$2 million playing basketball.
No.
I went
Beyond his
to.
wildest dreams.
I want to say it was the 2000 Sydney Olympics, and I'm talking to, every Olympics has tons of McDonald's on all the venue sites, and I'm talking to an Australian family from Germany, and I said, that our local NBA team has a German player. He says they've got Dirk Nowitzki, and I got this blank expression on all of his face. Even the Germans hadn't heard of Dirk.
Yeah. He was
He
a
was a
handball
junior player.
He was a handball tennis player growing up.
He was a star junior player.
Yes, junior player.
And somehow Donnie
But Donnie
found him.
Donnie was the coach of Lithuania's Olympic
Right.
team, and that's how he got to know. I mean,
He was
Donnie's
Europe
2 for
before
2
he
in
was
Europe.
cool.
I mean,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Dirk and now Luka. He can miss a lot
minute.
of things and hit those two
I don't know if I'd say he's 2 for 2.
with
But he
European.
found two great
yeah.
ones.
He did have Bruno
3 great
Sundov
ones.
in there and some
He's
Right.
over. He's over.
Antoine
China.
Rigaud, and
Yeah,
he's hit on 2. How about that?
he's hit on 2.
He's hit 2 grand slams
Incredible.
He is over China,
and a bunch of.
and that's a rather
What do you got against Wang Zhuzhu?
nothing. I think.
All right, there's some pregame meal. It's Gil Leberton segment each and every week here on PressBox DFW Live. Next up, is he a 37-year-old TV analyst, or is he just a really bad football player?
Good afternoon, people. I'm a non-professional broadcaster here.
That's
I'm
gonna,
John-
that's gonna go on your business card. Non-professional broadcaster, comma, I serve people.
My name is John Henry, and I too am for sale. I mean, pardon me. This segment is for sale. Double drivel, and I know what question's coming next.
Absolutely.
Why in the world is it called double drivel?
Bring it.
Because I'm not a no-nonsense guy. In fact, I love nonsense. And that's what this is about. And what is this nonsense of Jason Witten returning? That was my first thought when I saw this last week, was Jason Witten returning. There has to be something more than love of the game, and I'm sure there is.
I got a text when I was actually on the golf course in Scottsdale, and a buddy of mine who works for the Cowboys says 82 is back. And I was like thinking, who are the current 82s that I miss? I mean, last thing I thought of was Witten. But after you get over the initial shock, doesn't it make sense? He was horrible in the booth, don't you think? In the Monday Night Football booth, Jason Witten was embarrassingly bad.
He got the Margaret Truman treatment on critics, that's for sure. He was panned universally.
Yeah. Well, you look at the bar has been raised. I mean, we're in a golden age of, we got Chris Collinsworth, who I think is fantastic. You got Aikman, who's solid, and Romo is now lapping them.
Right.
So ESPN can't trot out Jason Witten and his vanilla, understated, opinions. I think ESPN told him, "This, if you ever want to play, this is a good time to go, get that out of your system." They didn't fire him, but don't you think they had something to do with it, or maybe just the feedback that he got?
I do.
Yeah.
The Monday Night Crew was an odd mix.
Very
You
so.
had a guy. Joe Tessitore is a great professional announcer, but he has kind of a radio style about him.
He's an overtalker.
He talks a lot. Yeah,
Absolutely.
he talks a lot. And from all indications, the guy that they wanted to hire as his one booth guy with him was Booger McFarland. And Booger had done all the screen tests and all that stuff. But they saw an opportunity to get Witten, and so they squeezed the three of them and put Booger on that whatever that was. That
Booger box.
it's like you didn't know whether he was working on the power lines above the phone lines above the stadium, or he was actually watching the football
Running
game.
the sideline camp. Booger's better than Witten. There's no doubt.
Yeah, Booger's
yeah,
better.
yeah,
absolutely.
And
he'll make a seamless transition up there, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
I don't want to say that Witten was awful, but I just think he was he wasn't polished. He had no polish whatsoever.
I hosted Jason Witten's radio show on the 105.3 The Fan for 1 year.
Yeah, you would know.
And as soon as they said, this is our hire, I was just like, no, absolutely not. I mean, we tried off the air in the locker room to get some color out of him. Just couldn't. He's really good as a Kroger pitch guy, pitch man, but no, not in the football booth.
Who would have? I would interrupt this. Who would have been Who would have been a couple of good talk show people to have back in those days? A weekly show. Obviously, the Romos and all that.
Yeah.
But who might have been underrated? This is a cold question.
Are you talking about like 90s Cowboys or?
I'm talking about the
Romo?
Cowboys that you covered back in the 90s, back in those days.
I mean, the two of them are on TV right now, Irvin and Dion. Great. You know who wasn't good? Emmett, and he was on TV.
Oh, yeah,
Remember what
Emmett.
embarrassed with that?
Yeah, Emmett was.
And I didn't think
legendary.
Aikman was that good. I still think he just doesn't give his opinion enough, but he's good. But
He's great on the morning with with George and
he's good.
Craig.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But he's he holds back too much. He starts everything with, I don't know if that was a dropped pass. Kind of gives himself some wiggle room instead of saying that was a horrible dropped pass. And I've talked to him about this, and he's like, it's just not my style.
The relevant question about Witten at this point is at 37,
Yes.
and already having lost 2 steps before he retired.
Yeah.
Is he a better TV guy than he is an NFL tight end these days?
Yes, he's going to be better. But I don't think he's going to lose a step because we talk about Dirk and how his game, he didn't need vertical hops. You can say, boy, Dirk lost 6 inches. So what?
Mm-hmm.
He played the game on the floor. Jason Witten doesn't need a step because he's so crafty. He's going to get open, right? 37, but he's been out of football a year. He probably feels better than he has in a long time. He's going to get open. He's not going to have a lot of drops. He's going to have the occasional false start that drives us all crazy. He's going to have, he'll have 50 catches, 5 touchdowns, and 0 yards after the catch. 0.
Right.
First person ever.
Oh, yeah,
but that's what they're going to
certainly.
get, right?
Right.
I think he can just wake up and do that.
They're instantly a better red zone team.
There you go. Boy, do they need it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
They were like 30th,
Yeah.
28th, something last year, and he'll score some touchdowns.
Yeah.
He'll help them in the red zone.
And they're going to need him to block.
And I don't think I hear people saying, "Well, I don't know. He's been off for a year. He's in perfect shape. It
Yeah.
looks like to me.
Yeah.
Plus, what is this? It's March, and he's got 7 months or whatever to get ready.
If he want to get in shape, he's got 4 months again just for training camp.
He'll be knocking people dead at OTAs.
I think so
know?
too. I don't think he's going to miss a beat.
I
The Jason
predict-
Witten we saw 2 years ago is the Jason Witten we're going to see in the first game.
I predict some rest that needs some WD-40.
All right, real quick. This just kind of came up last night. Just talk about it real quick. DeMarcus Lawrence getting the franchise tag again. He's not happy. Says he's not going to have shoulder surgery, not going to show up, not going to sign it. Does Jerry need to get that done? I mean, he's their number 1 defensive player. This could be a real mess if he holds out for any amount of time.
Right.
Certainly.
I'd like to invite everybody to read Matt's story
He's
this
on it.
morning. I took a little different twist on it and talked about the salary cap that Jerry's never quite been able to figure out, even though he was one of
Give him some time. He's only on the team for 30 years.
Well, Jerry was one of the people that wanted the salary cap back when, because he said, he preached the idea of cost certainty. If I know what my payroll is going to be, then, and of course, Jerry Jones ends up being worth, like I pointed out this morning, almost 3 times more than Oprah.
Wow.
And
Wow, that's
Oprah's
something.
worth $2.5 billion. Jerry's worth $6.9 billion.
If you're doubling Oprah, you're doing something
Tripling,
right.
almost tripling
Yeah,
Oprah.
yeah.
And now he's got all the money in the world, but he can't spend it on players because of a rule that he helped push through.
Yeah, cost certainty cost the Cowboys a Super Bowl.
Can you
probably.
imagine?
I mean, they were won 3 out of 4 when free agency came around. That was one of Jerry's.
Without
also.
a salary cap,
you
how many
imagine?
Lombardi trophies would the Cowboys have?
Yeah, several.
I mean, $1 billion payroll?
Yep.
You could get 500 coaches
Nothing.
in here.
Nothing.
1 of 500.
You get 500 quarterbacks in here.
Yep.
But anyway, I think the Lawrence thing the rule number one, of course, of free agency is don't piss off your best players, right? Mm-hmm. And he somehow succeeded doing that. Lawrence told him for a year now. He said, "Don't be doing. I'll do it this time, but I'm not going to do it again."
Yep.
And they had a whole year to get this done.
And they got till July 15th to sign the long-term deal. But right now it looks pretty iffy. All right, there's some double drivel here on PressBox DFW Live. Coming up next, what's the greatest uniform number in the history of DFW? Welcome to Wits End. I'm Richie Witt. Wits End sponsored you by Gil Lebreton's email. Again, if you want to sponsor Wits End or any segment, or be our have your name right about here with your big logo, fancy pants, hit him up, glebreton at PressBoxDFW.com. It's called Wits End because my last name, in case you guys don't know, is Witt. And I was at Duncanville High School writing a column, and just one of my buddies said, "Do you ever have writer's block?" I was like, "No." He goes, "You ever get at your wits' end?" And I was like, ding. And since then, it's been polluting newspapers and airwaves for 35 years. Yep. And plus, I have a little bit of a dark side. If you ever read it on Fridays, Wits End is my column.
Every Friday.
You'll see a little edge to me. So I was thinking about DFW uniform numbers because Luka has such a strange number. Luka Doncic of the Mavericks, 77. It's a weird number. It's like for a football player. But he wears it because of some European guy that he followed as a kid. It was number 7, so he just doubled it up. And I thought, is Luka the greatest number 77 in DFW already? And I thought, no, there's Tyron Smith, there's Jim Jeffcoat. It just got me to thinking, let's put together a roster. That's what we do at PressBox DFW. We think of context and whatnot.
We throw stuff up against the wall,
and we do that as well. So some of these, filling out the all-time roster of who owns which number in DFW is easy. 41 is Dirk. There was a Charlie Waters, but forget about it. Dirk owns 41. And it's, there's arbitrary reasons. It's just whatever, whatever you think of, who owns the number. It could be for whatever reason. It could be longevity or stats, or maybe they gave you an autograph one time. It's who owns it. 7 is Pudge. Done. 8 is Aikman. 12 is your guy, Roger Staubach.
Absolutely.
Who's 5?
Derek Harper would say, wait just a minute.
I say no.
Who's number 5?
We'll have to get to my list.
Oh, sorry.
I thought, okay, that's a good one, though. I thought it was Jason Kidd because he was 5.
Right.
But then he came back and won a title as 2.
Oh, that's
and I don't think he owns either one of those. So
I was thinking Jason Kidd.
I went with LaDainian Tomlinson. The best 5. He beat out Ian Kinsler
I
at
should
5.
know that. I should know that. He did wear 5.
Yes, he did wear 5 at TCU.
Maybe you should go to PressBoxDFW.com and read that story. All right. 12 is Roger. 29 is Beltray, about to be retired. 33 is Tony Dorsett. 34 is Nolan Ryan. For better, for worse, 42 is Roy Tarpley.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Then it gets a little bit harder.
For all the wrong reasons.
Absolutely. Gets a little bit harder. Is number 9 in DFW, does it belong to Tony Romo or Mike Modano?
Mike Modano.
Is that a no-brainer? No-brainer to you too?
I go no-brainer.
He's got a cup to prove it.
I agree.
Still the face of hockey.
I agree, but a very popular Cowboys quarterback usually wins all arguments, but I agree. Modano, just for winning the cup.
Absolutely.
22, again, I was a Bob Hayes guy as a kid, and I think of the world's fastest man catching a bomb in the Cotton Bowl, but how's that not Emmett?
Oh,
or Rolando Blackman?
No, it's Emmett.
It's Emmett?
Got to be Emmett.
Emmett?
Yeah.
19, Eric Dickerson or Juan Gonzalez? I mean,
that's I'm a Wando fan.
I would say
he did more.
Greatest run producer.
He did more.
One of the best run producers of his time.
No doubt.
I remember
two-time MVP.
And I love Eric Dickerson too, but yeah, absolutely.
I remember going to a Ranger game, the last game before the All-Star break, that great MVP season that Juan had. And the last game before the All-Star break, he drove in a winning run, and it was his 100th of the season.
Before the break?
He had 100 RBIs before the All-Star break.
That doesn't even seem real.
Right.
21, Zeke or Dion?
Dion.
At this point, it's Dion.
Short,
Very
he was
short,
only here
but
a short
delivered
time,
a Super Bowl. 24, Everson Walls or Mark Aguirre?
Mark Aguirre.
I'm going to go Aguirre.
I go Aguirre too, but Everson Wall's still the Cowboys' all-time interception leader.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, he was so
and went
good.
to 10 Pro
Greatness.
Bowls as a free agent.
So good.
So some of these are going to change pretty quick. Tell me if you think any of these are off base. Number 4, Dak is going to displace Michael Finley at some point.
Sure.
Might already have.
Luka, at some point, we think, is going to displace Tyron Smith.
Absolutely.
DeMarcus Lawrence is going to displace Jay Ratliff.
Oh, yeah.
Not yet, but will. All right, the two best numbers in DFW sports history that I can figure out. Start with number 20. A baseball MVP with the Rangers, a hockey Stanley Cup winner, and a hockey Hall of Famer, or a 2-time Super Bowl champ, 10-time Pro Bowler, and Hall of Famer. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, I'm going with the
When in doubt, go Cowboys.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we'll put up their pictures here. Of course, that's Jeff Burrows was the Rangers. How about that? So I used to go to those games at old Arlington Stadium.
And he was great here.
I mean, won MVP in '74.
Right.
And then, of course,
Where
you
did
got.
he get that? Where did he get those glasses?
I know.
mean, it's
I don't
like-
remember him wearing those
They
glasses.
didn't have Walmart back in those days.
Those are like airplane goggles he's wearing. Of course, the 20 for the Stars, Ed Belfour, was in the net for when they won their Stanley Cup. He's in the Hall of Fame. And, of course, he was at the mansion when he got drunk and rolled down the stairs and told the cops, "I'll give you $1 billion if you don't arrest me." How do you know? How do you know? Cops should have taken that.
Hell of a
Should've
deal.
got an IOU right there. Should have had him Venmo him $1 billion right there. But of course, Mel Renfro belongs to number 20. Like I said, 10-time Pro Bowl, 2 Super Bowls, Ring of Honor, Hall of Fame. One of the greatest athletes the Cowboys have ever had.
I've got a beef with one of the numbers on your
We're not there yet. Beefs come after this
Oh,
presentation
yes,
because this might be the toughest one.
Okay.
At number 54, do you want a Super Bowl MVP or a Super Bowl MVP? That's pretty tough. Mm-hmm. And they both have Pro Bowls. They're both in the Ring of Honor.
I'm thinking of one, but who's
you better
the other
think
one?
of Chuck Howley. You better think of Randy
Chuck
White.
Howley. Yeah.
Super Bowl MVP. The only losing player off a losing team to win a Super Bowl MVP.
Randy White just dominated his position.
He did. He's in the Hall of Fame, and Chuck Howley isn't.
And he's
So
he's more iconic than
yeah, he is.
face of.
All right, I will now answer complaints from the crowd. Mr. Lebreton, do you have a question?
Number 38, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
You had listed as Roy Williams.
I didn't feel good about it, but there wasn't a lot of good 38s. Who'd you want, Ron Francis?
No, no. You neglected the greatest manager in Texas Rangers history.
Johnny Oates was 26.
Ron Washington was number 30.
Oh, my gosh, you're exactly right.
Wash.
You agree with that one?
I've got to agree.
Do you
with
think
Webb on
Wash
that.
delivered more than Roy Williams in 38?
Just a little bit.
You know, Roy Williams was 31 and 30. If I could combine them, maybe have an argument, but you're exactly right.
You combine the success and the personality.
Yep. And I
it's a
love
no-brainer.
Wash. I have to amend that. Next time you check PressBox
It's just an oversight.
DFW, I will amend that list. But there you go. Check it out at PressBox DFW.com.
It's a fun read.
It is a fun read.
It
It's
was
good
a very
debate,
fun read.
and you wind up buying your friend a beer when you lose Ron Wash.
A talker.
It is a talker. Next up on PressBox DFW Live, time to round the bases and head for home. Welcome to a little thing we call the walk-off, and I'm sensing a theme. It's also sponsored by Gil Lebreton's email today, glebreton at PressBoxDFW.com, glebreton at PressBoxDFW.com, if you would like to sponsor a segment, a show, or maybe just buy some new outfits. Who knows what you want to do with us. All right, each week in the walk-off, we're going to answer a question emailed to us by a loyal reader or maybe somebody that's just really mad at us. And that is also glebreton at PressBoxDFW.com. You're going to be busy with this email. It's going to be blowing up.
I'll try to
need a personal assistant.
I'll try to
handle
check
this.
it.
You do need an assistant. So email your questions for the walk-off. Anything you just want to have us address, anything you want to know about us, we will try to answer it in the walk-off. We have a question this week. It comes from Jim in Jacksboro, and he says, what's the wildest athlete story that none of y'all have either written or talked about on the air? Wildest athlete story. It's a family show, but I think I have one. My headline would be Spit or Swallow. Can I tell that story here? Yeah, sure I can.
The Bob Kraft story.
All right, so
yeah.
we should end the show right there on that zinger. So early 90s, I'm covering the Cowboys. I one of my best sources and got to be friends with him later was Troy Aikman. He would come into the Star Telegram cubicle at Valley Ranch and sit down in a chair and just prop up his feet. I'd put down the notepads and the computers, and we would just shoot the bull. He would bitch about Jimmy, and one day he said, I'm getting traded to the Chargers. I mean, he would unload. He was a big dipper back then. Like, he would bring spit tobacco or chew tobacco, and he always did it in a green paper Gatorade cup. But on this day, he brought in a Sprite can to spit in, which was not that unusual. Problem is, on the same day, guess who decided to buy a Sprite from the vending machine? Yeah, you know where this is going. Set mine down, listen to his fantastic story. Oh my gosh, you do that really? And it hit me like a ton of bricks.
Instantly, I'll bet.
I had taken a sip, not of Sprite, but of Troy Aikman's tobacco backwash. And in 1.2 seconds, I had to decide, do I spit this out and let him know what I've done? And he will go tell everybody in the media. I will forever be the guy who swallowed Troy Aikman's spit. Or do I swallow it, hope it doesn't kill me, but keep my pride?
Credibility.
What do you think I did?
Credibility. Swallowed, Stormy.
Spit.
There's a comma there, swallowed. Comma, Stormy. You think I spit?
Oh, you got to.
You don't know me very well. I swallowed the heck out of it, and to this day, nobody knows that story except for the millions of viewers now.
Now the 500 million on Facebook. Now.
Yeah, so there you go. So, and he still kids me about it because I've told him that story since then. So, all right, there's my spit or swallow. Gil, what do you got? Wildest athlete story you've never told?
I'll make it quick. Late 80s, mid to late 80s. I'm in Las Vegas covering, I want to say it was a Hagler-Hearns fight, and as a prelude to, they had the whole ring set up in the back of Caesar's Palace, and as a prelude to the big fight on, say, it must have been a Saturday, they had a few days of undercard fights, and on one of those days, I want to say it was like a Thursday night or something, Bruce Curry, Donald Curry's younger brother or older? Stepbrother.
Older stepbrother.
Yeah. Was fighting. He was the tomato can that was lined up to fight the champion on this particular night. Well, needless to say, Howard Cosell was not there. In fact, I seem to remember that just me and the guy from the Las Vegas Review-Sun were the only ones, or Review Journal, whatever it is, were the only ones there. Well, lo and behold, Bruce wins the fight. And it's like, I've got like 20 minutes before deadline. I called the newspaper office and I said, we've got a
tomato can to shock the world.
Got a boxing world champion. We've got a boxing world champion from Fort Worth who we might want to get the story in. So
he won a championship, not just a fight.
Yeah, the belt.
Okay.
He won the belt
wow.
and everything.
Okay.
And it's like, it's like 5 people there to give it, one of these things.
And not a regional title, a world title.
A world championship. Yeah, the belt and everything. So I said, Bruce, I got to talk to you. So he says, man, I got. So we're walking down toward the hotel, and there's a whole row of portalettes there. Oh, and he says, man, I got to stop in here. And so he says,
I think you'll spit. What do you think?
He says,
are we going there? We're not going there. Okay.
He says, here, hold this.
Oh, no.
So he gives me the belt to hold, and he disappears inside the can, the porta can. And so I've got the belt over my shoulder.
Oh,
I've got my notebook. And the little grating up at the top of the portalette.
The vent,
the vent.
Sure, yeah.
I'm up there with my notepad, and I'm shouting questions through the vent.
Smelling that
and Bruce is hollering answers back, and I've got and people are walking by, and I've got the belt over my shoulder,
Talking
which
to
is
a porta
why
pot.
I can legitimately say in my bio now that I once briefly held the world such and such title belt, whatever it was.
I can't.
That's my
It'd be
story.
a great spot to porta potty to sponsor that.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's right. There were at least 20 of them.
All right, John, give us your wildest story. It's never been revealed until the big reveal.
Until today.
Yeah.
It has to be 2006, June of 2006, probably about 2 weeks after the disastrous 3-1 lead that the Mavericks were not able to hold on to.
I was there. Hurt still.
And
thanks for bringing that up.
A member of that team who also wears one of our greatest numbers, came over to Fort Worth, and we have a mutual friend. And we spent, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 hours crying in our beer.
Now, who are we talking about?
Number 41.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
He did.
Oh,
Wow.
There
Oh,
you
yeah.
go.
Oh, yeah.
A man of the people.
He is a man of the
Very
people.
much a man of the people.
Wow.
So, you know, the bar we were at closed down, and I knew a fella who owns a bar. And I said, hey, 41 wants to keep drinking. He says, how many are you? How many are there? How many are there? I said, count them down. There's 12 of us.
Yeah.
Come to the back door. so
Well played
we
by
did.
him. Yeah.
We did.
Crazy. And then Dirk went to the Outback that summer and just went with Holger, his guy, and got lost in the Australian Outback. Crazy.
Oh, that's right. He did. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
All right, there's the walk-off here on PressBox DFW Live. Again, the email to send us a question, gleberton@pressboxdfw.com. Real quick, give us, Gil, some of the best stuff we've had recently and maybe what we're covering in the next week or so on the website.
Wow, we had a great retrospective on the day Evel Knievel jumped
sir.
11 Mack trucks in of all places, North Richland Hills. Was that 45 years ago?
Yes,
Was it?
45 years.
And we've don't miss Wits End. We've always got that every Friday. I think I had a good story on Gil Brandt and how he remade
Very good
himself
story.
in order to become a Hall of Fame player personnel guy. We have lots of good stuff. Please, and we have a link on our website that has a lot of our best stuff. Probably at least 10 or 15 stories from the year 2018 that people. It's all free too.
Yep.
Those links are all free, and please stop by, and it'll give you an idea of what we're all about. And I hope you'll sign up. Come on up to the press box. That's
We
what
got
we
a
want
birthday
everybody to
coming
do.
up. We're almost 1 year old. How about that?
Right, March 29th.
you go.
Our launch was the opening day for the Rangers in 2018.
To have a big party. Maybe you need to wear those
We
beads
will.
again.
Yeah.
All right, read us at PressBoxDFW.com. Watch or listen each Tuesday right here, PressBox DFW Live. For Gil Leberton and John Henry, I'm Richie Witt. See you guys in the PressBox DFW.